The wind screamed outside the Floral Spoon Cafe like an angry monster. Nicole's hands shook as she carried a tray loaded with hot soup bowls. She was so tired. Her feet hurt. Her back hurt. Everything hurt. "Table 7, hurry up," her boss yelled from behind the counter. Nicole nodded and rushed forward. She had been working since 6 in the morning. Now it was almost 9 at night. After this shift, she would go to her second job cleaning offices until midnight. Then she would grab 3 hours of sleep before starting all over again. Why did she work so hard? The answer made her stomach twist into knots every single day. Her mother was dying. Well, not dying exactly, but she was very sick. The doctors said she needed special medicine and treatments. Expensive treatments. The kind of treatments that cost more money than Nicole could ever imagine making. Nicole was only 19 years old. She had dropped out of school to take care of her mother. Now she worked 3 jobs, but it was never enough. The hospital bills kept coming. Big white envelopes with red numbers that made her cry. Last week, the hospital had sent a final notice. Pay $20,000 by the end of the month, or they would stop her mother's treatments. $20,000 might as well have been $20 million. Nicole made about $300 a week from all her jobs combined. She had tried everything. She had asked for loans. She had begged the hospital for more time. She had even tried selling her old car, but it was so broken that nobody wanted it. "Miss, my soup is cold." Nicole snapped back to reality. An angry woman at table 3 was waving her spoon in the air. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'll get you a fresh bowl right away," Nicole said softly. She hurried back to the kitchen, blinking back tears. She couldn't cry at work. If she cried, her boss would send her home. If she went home, she wouldn't get paid. If she didn't get paid, her mother would suffer. When Nicole came back out with the fresh soup, she noticed something strange. There was a man sitting in the corner booth. An old man. He looked different from the usual customers. He wore a long black coat that looked expensive, the kind of coat that probably cost more than Nicole made in 6 months. His skin was dark and his hair was white as snow. He sat perfectly still, reading a newspaper with one hand while holding a cup of tea with the other. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was that he was looking at her, not the normal way customers looked at waitresses. He was studying her. His eyes were sharp and knowing, like he could see straight into her soul and read all her secrets. Nicole felt a shiver run down her spine. She quickly looked away and went to serve other tables. An hour passed. The dinner rush finally ended. Most customers had left, but the old man was still there, still watching her with those piercing eyes. Nicole's boss had gone to back office to count money. The kitchen staff was cleaning up. Nicole was wiping down tables when she heard a deep, gentle voice. "Excuse me, young lady." She turned around. The old man was standing right behind her. Up close, he was very tall. His face was lined with wrinkles, but his eyes sparkled with intelligence. He smelled like expensive cologne and old books. "Yes, sir? Can I get you anything else?" Nicole asked, trying to sound cheerful even though she was exhausted. The old man smiled sadly. "I couldn't help but notice that you look troubled, like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders." Nicole's heart began to pound. How did he know? Could he really see her pain so easily? "I'm fine, sir. Just tired from work," she lied. The old man shook his head slowly. "No, my dear, you're not fine. You're terrified. You're working yourself to death trying to save someone you love. Am I correct?" Nicole's mouth fell open. She couldn't speak. Who was this man? How did he know? The old man reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. He placed it on the table between them. Nicole could see green paper inside. Money. Lots of money. "There's $5,000 in this envelope," the old man said calmly. "Consider it a gift." Nicole gasped. $5,000. That would pay for an entire month of her mother's treatments. But this couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. I can't take your money, sir," Nicole stammered. "I don't even know you. Why would you give me money?" The old man's eyes grew soft. "Because I can see that you're a good person in a desperate situation. And because $5,000 is nothing compared to what you really need, is it? Nicole felt tears streaming down her face. He was right. 5,000 would help, but she needed 20,000. And even if she got that, there would be more bills next month, and the month after that, forever. How? How do you know what I need? Nicole whispered. The old man pulled out a small white card and placed it next to the envelope. My name is Charles Henderson. I'm a businessman. More importantly, I'm someone who believes that good people deserve good fortune. He pushed both the envelope and the card toward her. Take the money. Use it for whatever you need most. And when you're ready to discuss a more permanent solution to your problems, call the number on that card. Nicole stared at the envelope. Her hands trembled. This felt wrong somehow. People didn't just give away money for nothing. There had to be a catch. There was always a catch. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. Charles Henderson smiled mysteriously. Call me when you're ready. We'll talk then. And just like that, he turned and walked out of the cafe. The bell above the door jingled as he disappeared into the snowy night. Nicole stood there frozen, staring at the envelope and the card on the table. Her mind was racing. This could be a trap. He could be a criminal. He could be dangerous. But $5,000 was sitting right there. Real money. Money that could buy her mother's medicine for a whole month. With shaking hands, Nicole picked up the envelope. She opened it. Inside were 50 crisp $100 bills. Real money. Not fake. Not a trick. She also picked up the card. It was simple and elegant with gold letters. Charles Henderson. Henderson Estate. Call anytime. 555-0147. Nicole shoved both items into her apron pocket and looked around frantically. Had anyone seen what just happened? The kitchen staff was busy. Her boss was still in the office. Nobody had noticed. That night, Nicole couldn't sleep. She lay in her tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the strange old man and his mysterious offer. A more permanent solution, he had said. What did that mean? For 3 days, Nicole tried to ignore the business card. She used the $5,000 to pay some of the hospital bills. Her mother's doctors were thrilled. They scheduled more treatments immediately. But Nicole knew the truth. The money would run out soon. And then she would be back where she started, desperate and drowning in debt. On the 4th night, Nicole sat at her kitchen table with the business card in her hand. Outside, snow was falling again. The wind howled. Her tiny apartment was freezing because she couldn't afford to turn up the heat. She thought about her mother lying in that hospital bed, pale and weak. She thought about all the bills still to come. She thought about how tired she was, how her body was giving up from working so many hours. And she thought about Charles Henderson's knowing eyes, those eyes that had seen her pain, those eyes that had promised a solution. Nicole picked up her phone. Her finger hovered over the numbers. This could be the biggest mistake of her life. Or it could be the miracle she desperately needed. She took a deep breath and dialed. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a deep, familiar voice answered. Hello, Nicole. I've been waiting for your call. Nicole's heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. How did Charles Henderson know it was her? She hadn't even said hello yet. How did you know it was me? Nicole asked, her voice barely a whisper. Charles chuckled softly on the other end of the line. You're the only person I've given my private number to in the past 6 months, my dear. Now, are you ready to talk about your future? Nicole swallowed hard. I don't know what you want from me, Mr. Henderson. Nobody just gives away money for nothing. You're right, Charles said. I do want something. But I promise you, it's nothing that would harm you or your mother. Can you meet me tomorrow? Come to my home. We'll have tea and discuss everything properly. Every alarm bell in Nicole's head was ringing. Never meet strangers at their homes. Never trust people who seem too good to be true. This was exactly how people got hurt. But then she thought about her mother's pale face in that hospital bed. She thought about the bills that would never stop coming. Okay, Nicole heard herself say. I'll come. The next morning, Nicole borrowed her friend's car and drove to the address Charles had given her. The farther she drove from her neighborhood, the bigger and fancier the houses became. When she finally found the right address, her jaw dropped. It wasn't a house. It was a mansion. Giant iron gates stood at the entrance with a stone pathway leading to the biggest house Nicole had ever seen in real life. It had tall white columns, huge windows, and was surrounded by beautiful gardens covered in snow. This place looked like something from a movie about rich people. Nicole's hands trembled as she pressed a button on the intercom at the gate. "Miss Nicole, welcome." A woman's voice crackled through the speaker. "Please drive up to the main entrance." The gate swung open automatically. Nicole drove slowly up the long driveway, feeling more nervous with every second. What was she doing here? This was crazy. She should turn around and leave right now. But she didn't. When she reached the front door, it opened before she could even knock. A kind-looking older woman in a neat uniform smiled at her. "Good morning, Miss Nicole. I'm Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Henderson's housekeeper. Please come in. He's expecting you in the library." Nicole stepped inside and gasped. The entrance hall was enormous, with shiny marble floors, a grand staircase, and a crystal chandelier that sparkled like diamonds. Everything was perfect and beautiful and expensive. Mrs. Patterson led her through several hallways until they reached a room lined with bookshelves from floor to ceiling. Charles Henderson sat in a leather chair by a fireplace, reading a book. When he saw Nicole, he stood up and smiled warmly. "Nicole, thank you for coming. Please sit down." He gestured to a comfortable chair across from him. Nicole sat down stiffly. Mrs. Patterson brought in a tray with tea and cookies, then quietly left the room. "I suppose you have many questions," Charles said, pouring tea into a delicate china cup. "Yes," Nicole said, finding her courage. "Why are you helping me? What do you want?" Charles set down the teapot and looked at her seriously. "I'm 78 years old, Nicole. I've been very successful in business, and I have more money than I could ever spend. But I'm also very alone." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "My wife died 15 years ago. We never had children. Most of my family is gone. I have this big house, all this wealth, but no one to share it with, no one to care for it when I'm gone." Nicole listened, confused. Where was this going? "I need a companion," Charles continued. "Someone to help me manage my affairs. Someone to represent me at social events. Someone to eventually inherit my estate and continue the charitable work I've started." Nicole's eyes widened. "You want to hire me? Like a personal assistant?" Charles shook his head slowly. "Not exactly. I'm proposing something more permanent. I'm asking you to marry me." The room started spinning. Nicole gripped the arms of her chair. "What?" But you don't even know me, and I'm 19. You're old enough to be your grandfather, yes," Charles said calmly. "This wouldn't be a romantic marriage, Nicole. I'm not looking for love. I'm looking for a partnership, a business arrangement, if you will." Nicole couldn't breathe. This was insane. Completely insane. "Here's what I'm offering," Charles said. "If you agree to marry me, I will immediately pay off all of your mother's medical debts. Every single penny. I will ensure she receives the best medical care available for the rest of her life. You will live here in comfort with your own private rooms. You'll never have to work 3 jobs again." "But why?" Nicole cried. "Why would you do this?" Charles sighed deeply. "Because I spent my whole life building wealth, and I realized too late that money means nothing if you have no one to share it with. Because I see in you someone who works hard, who loves deeply, who deserves better than what life has given her. And because I need someone I can trust to help me give my fortune away properly." "Give it away?" Nicole repeated. "Yes, I run several charitable foundations, clinics for poor people, shelters for women escaping dangerous situations, scholarship programs for students who can't afford college. I need someone young and energetic to help manage these programs. Someone who understands what it's like to struggle." Nicole's mind was reeling. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen in real life. "What would you expect from me?" she asked quietly. "Companionship, respect, help with managing the household, and my charitable work. You would attend events with me as my wife. In return, you would have complete financial security. Your mother would have the best care, and you would learn everything about running the foundations so that when I'm gone, you can continue the work. How long? Nicole couldn't finish the question. Charles understood. The doctors say I probably have 5 to 10 years left, maybe less. I have a heart condition. I'm not dying tomorrow, but I'm not immortal either. When I pass away, everything I own will be yours to do with as you see fit. I only ask that you continue supporting the charities. Nicole felt tears sliding down her cheeks. This is too much. I don't know what to say. Charles leaned forward. Say, yes, Nicole. Save your mother. Save yourself. And help me save my legacy from becoming meaningless wealth gathering dust. For a long moment, Nicole sat in silence. She thought about her mother. She thought about the crushing weight of debt. She thought about falling asleep exhausted every night, knowing tomorrow would be exactly the same. She thought about the life Charles was offering. Security, purpose, a chance to help other people the way she wished someone had helped her. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. Charles smiled, but it was a sad smile. Thank you, Nicole. I promise I will treat you with respect and kindness. This may not be a traditional marriage, but will be an honest one. Everything happened so fast after that. Charles had lawyers draw papers. Nicole's mother's entire hospital debt vanished within 2 days. The hospital staff was amazed. They moved her mother to a private room with the best doctors. Nicole's mother cried when Nicole told her about the marriage. Are you sure? Her mother asked weakly. You're so young. You shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself for me. It's not a sacrifice, Mom, Nicole said, holding her mother's hand. He's a good man, and he's giving us a chance at a real life. The wedding happened 1 week later. It was small and simple, held in Charles's library with just a judge, Mrs. Patterson, and Charles's lawyer as witnesses. Nicole wore a simple white dress that Mrs. Patterson had helped her pick out. Charles wore a dark suit. When the judge said, "You may kiss the bride," Charles simply took Nicole's hand and squeezed it gently. No kiss, just respect. That night, Nicole stood in the beautiful bedroom that was now hers. It was bigger than her entire old apartment. She looked at the wedding ring on her finger, a simple gold band, and wondered what she had just done. There was a soft knock on her door. Come in, Nicole called. Charles entered, now wearing comfortable clothes. He looked tired but kind. I wanted to make sure you understand something, he said gently. This room is yours, completely yours. I will never enter without permission. This marriage is real in the eyes of the law, but your privacy and dignity are sacred. Do you understand? Nicole nodded, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. Good, Charles said. Get some rest. Tomorrow, I'll start teaching you about the foundations. You have a lot to learn, and I have much to teach you. Good night, Nicole. Good night, Charles, Nicole said softly. As she lay in the most comfortable bed she'd ever slept in, Nicole stared at the ceiling. Her life had completely changed in just 1 week. She was married to a stranger, living in a mansion. Her mother's medical bills were paid. Was this real? Or would she wake up tomorrow back in her tiny apartment, exhausted from working 3 jobs? But when morning came, she was still there in that beautiful room, and Charles was waiting downstairs with breakfast and folders full of information about the foundations. Her new life had begun. The first month of Nicole's new life felt like living in a dream that she was afraid to wake up from. Every morning, she would open her eyes in that beautiful bedroom and think, this can't be real. But it was real. The soft sheets were real. The warm house was real. The breakfast Mrs. Patterson prepared was real. And most importantly, her mother's health improving every single day was very, very real. Charles was patient with her. He didn't rush her or make her feel uncomfortable. Instead, he treated her like a student learning something important. Come, he would say after breakfast. Let me show you what we do here. Nicole discovered that Charles wasn't just rich. He was rich with a purpose. In his office, he showed her folders and folders of information. The Henderson Foundation supported 3 medical clinics in poor neighborhoods. They provided free health care to people who couldn't afford doctors. People like Nicole's mother had been, before Charles came into their lives. We helped over 2,000 people last year, Charles explained, showing her photographs of smiling families. But we can do more, much more. He also ran a women's shelter called Hope House. It was a safe place where women and children could go when they were running away from dangerous homes. They got food, clothes, counseling, and help finding jobs and apartments. I wish more people knew about places like this, Nicole said softly, looking at pictures of mothers hugging their children. Charles smiled. That's where you come in. I'm old and tired. People don't listen to me like they used to. But you're young, beautiful, and you understand struggle. People will listen to you. Nicole laughed nervously. Me? I'm Noubedi. I was just a waitress. You were never just a waitress, Charles said firmly. You were a young woman fighting to save her mother's life. You worked 3 jobs without complaining. You never gave up hope. That's not nobody. Nicole, that's a hero. Nobody had ever called Nicole a hero before. The word made her feel strange and warm inside. As weeks turned into months, Nicole learned everything about running the foundations. She learned how to read financial reports. She learned how to talk to donors and convince them to give money. She learned how to visit the clinics and shelters and really listen to people's stories. And something magical started to happen. Nicole started to change. The scared, exhausted girl who had served soup at the Floral Spoon Cafe was disappearing. In her place was a confident young woman who could stand in front of rich people at fancy dinners and make them care about helping the poor. The Henderson Foundation needs your support, Nicole would say at fundraising events, wearing beautiful dresses that Charles had bought for her. Every dollar you give saves a life. I know this because your dollars saved my mother's life. People love her honesty. They loved her passion. Donations to the foundation doubled, then tripled. Charles would watch her from across the room at these events, and Nicole would see pride shining in his eyes. Not the pride of a husband for a wife, but the pride of a teacher watching a student succeed. One evening, about 6 months after the wedding, Nicole sat with Charles in the library. He was teaching her about scholarship programs the foundation ran. We give money to help smart kids go to college, Charles explained. Kids who have good grades, but whose families are too poor to pay for school. Nicole's eyes lit up. That's wonderful. I had to drop out of school to take care of my mom. I always wished I could have finished. Charles looked at her thoughtfully. You know, there's nothing stopping you from going back to school now. We could hire tutors. You could take online classes. You could get your diploma and even go to college if you wanted. Nicole had never thought about that. She had assumed that part of her life was over forever. Could I really? She whispered. Nicole, you can do anything you want now, Charles said gently. That's the whole point. I didn't marry you to trap you or control you. I married you to set you free. Tears filled Nicole's eyes. She walked over to Charles and hugged him. It was the first time she had hugged him since the wedding. He patted her back awkwardly but kindly, like a grandfather hugging his granddaughter. Thank you, Nicole sobbed. Thank you for everything. Thank you for saving my mom. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for showing me that I could be more than I thought I was. You're very welcome, my dear, Charles said softly. You've given this old man more joy in 6 months than he's had in 15 years. You've brought life back into this empty house. You've taken my dreams to the foundation and made them bigger and better. I should be thanking you. Nicole's mother came to live with them 2 months later. The doctor said she was well enough to leave the hospital, but she needed to continue treatments. Charles had a whole wing of the mansion converted into a comfortable apartment for her, with a nurse who visited every day. I can't believe this is real, Nicole's mother said, tears streaming down her face as she looked at her beautiful new home. My baby girl is living in a palace, and I'm healthy again. How did this happen? Nicole took her mother's hand. It happened because I met someone who taught me that kindness and wealth can work together to create miracles. As the seasons changed and a year passed, Nicole became more than just Charles's wife on paper. She became his friend, his partner, and his successor. She started a new program called Second Chances that helped young people who had dropped out of school get their education. She opened 2 more women's shelters in different cities. She convinced a group of doctors to donate their time to the free clinics. Charles's health was getting worse. His heart condition was progressing. Some days he was too tired to get out of bed. But on his good days, he would sit with Nicole and smile as she told him about all the lives they were changing together. "You're going to do great things after I'm gone," Charles said one afternoon. "Things I never could have done alone." Nicole took his wrinkled hand in hers. "I could never have done any of this without you. You didn't just save my mother. You saved me too. You showed me that my life could have meaning. We saved each other," Charles said wisely. "I gave you money and opportunity. You gave me purpose and joy. That's what real partnership looks like." On a sunny spring morning, almost exactly 1 year after their wedding, Nicole stood in front of a crowd of over 300 people at Charity Gala. She wore an elegant blue dress and spoke confidently into the microphone. "1 year ago, I was working 3 jobs and drowning in debt," she said. "I thought my life would always be a struggle. But then I met someone who changed everything. Not just with money, but with belief." Charles Henderson believed that one person can make a difference. He believed that wealth should be used to heal, not just to have. And he believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. The crowd applauded. Nicole smiled and continued. "Tonight, I'm proud to announce that the Henderson Foundation has helped over 10,000 people this year. We provided free medical care, safe shelter, education, and hope, and we're just getting started." More applause. Nicole looked aside of the stage where Charles sat in a wheelchair, too weak to stand for long periods now, but determined to be there for this moment. He was smiling at her, his eyes bright with pride. "So I want to ask all of you," Nicole said, her voice strong and clear, "to join us. Donate, volunteer, spread the word. Help us prove that when good people work together, we can change the world one life at a time." The crowd stood and applauded for a long time. Nicole walked off the stage and knelt beside Charles's wheelchair. "You did wonderfully," he said, squeezing her hand weakly. "We did wonderfully," Nicole corrected him. "This is our work, our legacy, together." As Nicole looked at the kind old man who had walked into the Floral Spoon Cafe one snowy night, she realized something beautiful. She had married him thinking it was about money. And yes, money had solved her immediate problems. But what she had gained was so much more than money. She had gained purpose, confidence, skills, friendship, a family, and the knowledge that she could take pain and transform it into power to help others. People would always judge their unusual marriage. Let them judge, Nicole thought. They didn't understand that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships create the most beautiful results. Charles Henderson had given her wings, and Nicole was going to use those wings to fly as high as she could, helping as many people as she could for as long as she lived. That was the real shock of her wedding night. Not what Charles wanted from her, but what he wanted for her. Freedom, purpose, and a chance to make the world a little bit brighter. And that was worth more than all the money in the world. Did this story touch your heart? Like this video if Nicole's journey inspired you. Share it with someone who needs to hear that life can change in unexpected ways. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories about hope, courage, and second chances. Drop a comment below telling us what you learned from Nicole and Charles's unusual partnership. See you in the next story.